Hey, it's Natalie Brown Rudd, founder of Because of His Grace Ministries. And here we are on one of my most favorite times. It's the beginning of the month, whatever month it is. And we are checking in with our one word and our scripture text. And as you know, the last couple of months, I've been having the privilege of interviewing a guest who's going to share with us their word, their scripture text, and all of the lessons that they have been learning as they've committed to this activity. And I want to make certain that you are committed, that you are taking this activity seriously because it is a blessing. It can transform the way you look at life. It transforms the way you pray. It transforms your relationship that you have with the Father and his Son, Yeshua. And so I want to make certain that you take this seriously. This is our 6th year doing this, and I tell you, I learn something new every single year, and I'm amazed by the lessons. And so I pray that you too are amazed and being blessed as you seriously take on this activity. So this month, I'm so excited to have my sister, my girlfriend, Mallori. Hey, Mallori.
Hello, thanks for having me.
No, thank you for sharing with us during this time. I want to hear about your one word and why you selected this word. How did you get to this point that you said, yes, this is my word? And what have you been learning?
Got it. So my one word is humble/humility. They go hand in hand, but I've come to see slightly different uses for them. I fought this. I did not actually want this word, but it kind of kept coming after me, realizing after looking through some journals, even just having like a devotional book where maybe that wasn't even the topic, but that's the part I kept getting from it. And so there was one that talked about like pretentiousness and like uh, trying to impress others and so I thought of it like that's not really something I do. That's not really something that applies to me. But one of the things it talked about was like how you can touch up your appearance, but God sees right through that, and that He looks at the heart. And so I thought it was kind of interesting because I'm not a big makeup wearer, but recently, like probably within the last year or so, I've gotten like concealer, just being way more conscious of how I look on camera and realizing like I don't care what anybody thinks about me. Oh, but I don't want people to see how tired I am. And so those kinds of things are what led me to think about humility and realizing all the ways that I avoid asking for help or that I um, depend on things that aren't God. And it could be my work, it could be my job, just all types of different sources that are not God. And so the scripture that I focused on, that I would say the primary, there's a lot of scriptures.
Right.
But the one is James 4, 6 through 7, really.
Hmm.
Um, and it says, God opposes the proud, but shows favor to the humble. Submit yourselves then to God, resist the devil, and he will flee from you. Um, I mean, God opposing anyone is pretty scary, right?
Right.
No one wants to be like on the like opposition of God.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of where I started is um, truly believing that I only had a little bit of work to do in the area of humility, um, and realizing God has other plans and He is just revealing all kinds of things to me. And pridiness just shows up everywhere in my life, and I am appalled.
Right. Right.
But I'll leave it right there for the moment.
Yes, Mallory, you are speaking to my heart because sometimes, as I mentioned, I've done this activity for the past 6 years, and I have to wrestle with the word like, I don't think I have that problem, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's
Mm-hmm.
amazing how you go into this process thinking one thing, oh, it's going to be about this.
Yep.
But the Lord shows you, no, it's deeper than that, sweetie. I'm trying to get down to below the surface level. I'm trying to get down to the core. And so that's interesting that you say you didn't think that this was an issue and how he has now revealed some things to you because he's coming after your heart.
Yep.
And I like how you said, about using concealer and avoiding things or not asking for help. That because pride and humility, I can see how they're connected. And your scripture text. Now, this is one of my favorite scripture texts. I call this the James 4:7 formula, right? Because it's how we resist the enemy. It's verse 7. But yes, looking at verse 6, how he opposes the proud, but he gives grace to those who are willing to bow down. He's giving grace to those who are willing to say, Father, I need your help. He's giving grace to say, Father, here, look at my heart, change my heart, clean me up. He's going to give us grace. And then as we submit to him, verse 7, as we submit to him, we by default resist the enemy. And the natural outcome is that he will flee from us. And then we'll be able to continue to grow and thrive and be victorious in our lives. This is a huge lesson that you are
Mm-hmm.
sharing with us, that you really are sharing with us. Tell me um, other scriptures besides James, because I heard you say that, this is your primary one, but that you have more.
Yep. Um, so uh, Philippians chapter 2, verse 3.
Okay.
Do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit. Rather, in humility, value others above yourselves, not looking to your own interests, but each of you to the interests of others. Ooh. And then First Peter um, chapter 5, 6-7.
Mhm.
Humble yourselves, therefore, under God's mighty hand, that he may lift you up in due time. That's a crucial part.
Mhm.
Cast all your anxiety on him because he cares for you.
Yes.
Um, and more recently, there's two other things. One is that more recently, um, I've been getting to the parts of James where he talks about not boasting about the future, and where the phrase like "Lord willing, this will happen."
Right.
I'm a procrastinator, so one of those things is realizing like that there's a certain arrogance and certain idea of control that I have, that I can put things into the future and I'll have enough energy, I'll have enough resources, that I have control over even the future. So I can wait until that future thing. Um,
Mm.
and realizing that, like, just even COVID, all kinds of things have made me realize, like, you don't even know what's going to happen today. I mean, so to continue doing that is just really arrogance. And I think that's kind of hard to admit. Even if it's driven by fear or other things or perfectionism, it's still a degree of arrogance because you think that you have more control than you actually do.
Right. And that is really insightful, because I too, I can't believe I'm admitting this if anybody's listening, right?
Hmm.
I am
Hmm.
a procrastinator. And I've never looked at it from the aspect of, oh, well, you think you're going to have control of what's going to happen in the future, so you can put this off. Like, I've never thought about that. And that's really convicting because I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, this is all we
Hmm.
have right now is this very moment. And time is not something that we can get back. And it's not
Hmm.
something that we control, right? And so you're absolutely right that do it now, whatever it is. So this is a message for everyone listening. Whatever you've been procrastinating about, stop procrastinating because you don't have control. And to take that a step further about the arrogance, that just doesn't feel right.
Hmm.
That doesn't feel
Hmm.
right that I'm arrogant. I
Hmm.
need to humble myself. And I always think of humility as surrendering.
Yeah.
that when Yah shows me my heart,
Hmm.
that I immediately ask for forgiveness because I don't want to do anything that is in opposition of him. I don't want to do anything that is offending him or offending one of my brothers or sisters, right? And so when he shows me my heart, then I have to humble myself and say, "You're right.
Yep.
I surrender. I yield. Forgive me." And then show me how to get right. You know what I mean? And so
Yep.
that's some of the things you're talking about. You're talking about pride and arrogance and thinking that we're in control and resisting what the Father is trying to show us. So tell me an aha moment that you had about, since you've selected this word, any aha moment. Like it was like, oh, that's me. Lord, I didn't know that was me.
So one interesting thing that's happened is that I thought this was all going to be about, me just needing to ask for help more. And really, I'm realizing it's about, at least right now, I'm sure it'll more, even more, right?
Mhm.
Right now, it's become, about tearing down all these idols that I truly did not even had. And so one of them is just what other people think about me. And so, perfect example is um, wanting to be helpful and able to do my work and then also help other people, wanting to be available, wanting to be committed. I finish things that I start, all of those things that I want people to think about me. Um, but realizing that in order to be obedient to what God has, I have to tear down the idols. Like it will always require me to tear down idols. So when I follow God and I'm actually obedient, like even a little bit, it means that it's going to knock down other idols. So for example, I can follow God and actually be listening to his word, know what he tells me to do. And when I do that, it's gonna look like I'm flaky. I'm going to have to cancel something. It's going to I'm gonna have to face the fear of people thinking that I didn't follow through because God was like, I know what you had planned, but I need you over here.
Right, right, right.
Or I'm going to people are going to think that I'm not responsible. I'm quitting my job with no job. Those types of things, right? But when I'm really following and I'm really obedient to God, like anything that you have built up as an idol, it has to come down.
Yeah.
It has to.
Right. And it's that humility. It's recognizing it and then humbling yourself to tear down those idols. And I know exactly what you are saying about how people will think, oh, you don't follow through because now the Lord is taking you in a totally different direction.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, or you're naive to have just quit your job and you don't know what you do.
Yep.
There's a sacrifice that comes with being obedient.
Yeah.
And you have to lay aside, Hebrews 12 says, lay aside anything that's hindering you, lay aside any obstacle that's getting in your way. And sometimes it is, what will people think?
Yep.
That's one of those obstacles. Okay, put it aside. And it's like, are you going to follow Yah or are you going to follow the flesh? You're going to follow and care about what everybody else is thinking about. What does Yah think? What
Yeah.
does Yah think? And I totally understand when your life goes in a different direction, but it's because you are being obedient. And that with that obedience comes a sacrifice, but then with that sacrifice comes a
Mm-hmm.
whole bunch of blessings, right? It
Yes.
comes a whole bunch of blessings
Yes.
of joy and peace of mind. And like, okay, I know I'm in the center of Yah's will. I really don't care what y'all think.
Yep.
Right? And I'm not being mean, but I have gotten to that point where I cannot live my life based on what other people think. I have to live my life based on what the Father says. What the Father says. And that is, I believe, your testimony. I believe it. Yeah. Yeah. Well, this has been very insightful. And you've given us a different way to think about humility. And I love how you said this isn't what you wanted your one word to be. But are you glad that you selected it? Are you glad that you yielded and, like you said, obeyed? Okay, good, 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 good. That's important.
Now, one thing I do have to leave you with is that a place where I'm terrified to go, and it's here, it's coming, all of that, is the complain about things I don't believe I should have to do. And then when you pause and realize that Jesus is humility, like that
Mhm.
God is humility in the flesh, like the idea that I would even fix my mouth to tell God something I don't think I should have to do
That's
is just ridiculous. I don't feel prepared to deal with it yet, but God's like, I'll wait. Go ahead. Tell me what you don't think you should have to do. And that is like just something that just gives me chills even thinking about it. It could be a training I think I've already done. Well, why do I have to do this again? And God's like, why not you? This is what you think is suffering? Okay. It's just
yeah. That right there is a big, big lesson. And I would love to interview you again later on in the year to see where you are, right? Because that's something I think we're all guilty of.
mhm,
Complaining and telling the Lord what we're not going to do, or uh,
mhm,
He's not moving fast enough, or why is this happening? I mean, goes back to your word about being arrogant. We have to remember who He is, and this is why I call Him the Most High,
yeah,
right? Because I'm reminding myself there's none greater than Him. Hold up, Natalie, you're talking to the Most High. Let's remember who He is and who you are. You are
mhm,
His daughter, you are His creator, you're His creation, and your role is to submit to Him. That was one of your scriptures, James 4:7. And so, why are you complaining? So you saying that the way life is working out is His fault? Well, hold up. He gave you free will, sweetie. And in Deuteronomy
mhm,
30, He says, choose life or death. I'm putting it all before you. Choose
yeah,
life or death, but understand what He also says in Galatians, what you sow, you shall reap. So you got all these idols built up. You got all these things in the way, and you thinking this is my fault the way your life is turning out. Hold up, little girl. That's me talking. He doesn't call me a little
mhm,
girl, but that's what I'm that in my mind. Like, Natalie, remember
yeah,
who this is. This is the Most High. Humble yourself.
yeah, yeah,
Watch the words. Watch your attitude. Watch the position of your heart as you go to Him,
mhm,
and trust Him because He's sovereign and He's maneuvering you through life. He's navigating you through life. So thank you, Mallori, for sharing uh, your walk with us and how you struggled with getting this word or saying yes to the word of humble and humility and the lessons that you're learning. I want to repeat the scriptures just to make certain that we have them. I've got James 4:6-7,
mhm,
Philippians chapter 2, verse 3, and then First Peter chapter 5, verses 6-7. And so, my sisters, all of you who are watching this video, I want you to understand the big idea is that God sees you.
mhm,
God sees your heart. And those things that you think you're avoiding, those things that you think you have wrestling with or control over, He's coming after your heart. And so He wants you to break down those idols.
yes,
He wants you to let go of control, thinking that you are doing this, that your security comes from what you're doing, or that you even care what other people are thinking, right?
yeah,
He wants you to follow Him. He's coming after you for you to trust Him. And I always think about humility, confessing my sin and bowing down to Him. And Mallory, you've given us a new insight. So I pray that this has been edifying and that you will dig into the scripture text. And if you haven't selected a one word, select it. You've heard these videos, you've seen how transformational this can be. And so I pray that you experienced it as well. And Mallory, I know you don't care what I think, but you have such a kind, gentle, sweet spirit.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing your lessons on being humble and humility. Thank you for sharing how the Lord is moving in your life. And I pray that this was a blessing for you to share as well. So without further ado, you guys, thanks so much. Be blessed.